Gase upon your feline compagnon.
It is highly probable that it is currently in a state of deep slumber. Whether it is basking in the warm embrace of the sun upon the comfortable upholstery of your sofa, or perhaps sprawled in a most inconvenient yet familiar position across your vital computing equipment, its current disposition is one of profound tranquility. It presents itself as a creature of absolute peace, a picture of indolent grace, and seemingly, an entity devoid of any potential for mischief or harm. Over the vast expanse of several thousand years, humanity has meticulously cultivated and solidified a pristine image for this creature, that of an independent yet demonstrably affectionate partner, a living, breathing testament to the idyllic nature of domestic contentment and harmonious cohabitation. However, it is incumbent upon us, as inquisitive individuals, to engage in a process of critical examination and persistent inquiry. We are compelled to pose the inconvenient, the probing questions, and the most pressing and pivotal query that arises in this context is undoubtedly the following. What if this carefully constructed image, so widely accepted and deeply ingrained, represents in reality the most exceptionally successful and pervasive disguise ever conceived in the grand tapestry of history? What if, concealed beneath the seemingly innocuous and fluffy exterior of this sedentary domestic inhabitant, there resides a creature whose innate instincts, remarkable intelligence, and formidable physical capabilities have been, to a significant and perhaps even alarming degree, profoundly underestimated by us? We are now embarking upon the formal commencement of an investigative undertaking. The designated subject of our meticulous examination and thorough scrutiny is none other than the ubiquitous and commonly encountered house cat, scientifically classified as Felis catus. The singular, overarching objective of this endeavor is to meticulously and definitively separate the comforting, often sentimental, myths that surround this animal from the stark, unvarnished, and potentially disquieting facts. Throughout the entirety of this comprehensive investigation, we shall diligently scrutinize all available evidence and carefully consider all pertinent testimonies in order to arrive at a definitive answer to one profoundly simple yet fundamentally important question. With whom, or indeed with what, are we truly sharing our living spaces? Prepare yourselves, for the very initial piece of evidence we shall present is guaranteed to profoundly alter your perception of the myriad sounds you regularly encounter on a day-to-day basis. Let us commence our examination with what is arguably the most readily apparent and frequently observed clue, the vocalization commonly referred to as the meow. We are accustomed to hearing this sound with remarkable frequency, often dozens of times within the span of a single day.
The cat desires sustenance, cuse me.
It expresses a demand for egress or ingress, necessitating the opening of a door, another meow. It craves your undivided attention and affection. You have, with unerring accuracy, anticipated the outcome. It seems entirely logical to surmise that this vocalization represents their inherent and natural method of interspecies communication. However, it is precisely at this juncture that our investigation encounters its inaugural and most compelling paradox. Rigorous scientific observations and extensive field studies have conclusively demonstrated that adult cats existing in their natural wild habitats almost invariably refrain from meowing at one another. Their sophisticated communication system is a complex and nuanced repertoire comprising a variety of guttural sounds, including hisses, growls, snorts, and an intricate array of body language signals. Meowing, by stark contrast, is almost exclusively an infantile vocalization, a sound employed by very young kittens exclusively for the purpose of communicating with their maternal caregiver. However, the moment a kitten matures and transitions into adulthood, this particular vocalization remarkably disappears from its established adult lexicon. There exists, however, a singular and striking exception to this rule. The persistent occurrence of meowing is almost exclusively observed when a human presence is detected. This critical observation leads us to formulate a compelling hypothesis that warrants rigorous testing. Is the act of meowing, in its essence, a uniquely developed tool that felines have painstakingly honed and refined with the specific intention of influencing human behavior over the protracted duration of thousands of years of evolutionary development? Scientific research emphatically corroborates this hypothesis. Esteemed scientists affiliated with Cornell University have made a groundbreaking discovery, revealing that the precise frequency range of a cat's pleading meow typically fluctuates between 220 Hz and 520 Hz. This frequency range is astonishingly proximate to the established frequency range of a human infant's cry, which characteristically oscillates between 300 Hz and 600 Hz. Our own neurological structures are intrinsically predisposed, or hardwired, to react to such sounds with an immediate sense of alarm and an overwhelming compulsion to offer assistance and succor. It appears, therefore, that cats have, with remarkable prescience, successfully deciphered and exploited this fundamental human response. They are not engaging in direct conversation with us. Rather, they are adeptly triggering an ancient, deeply embedded caregiving instinct that resides within our very beings. And as empirical experience unequivocally demonstrates, this strategy proves to be remarkably effective, invariably yielding the desired results every single time. The subsequent piece of evidence to be presented within the framework of our ongoing investigation pertains to the fascinating aspect of feline locomotion and movement. A cat has a remarkable ability to materialize seemingly out of thin air. It can ascend to the uppermost shelves of cabinets with an unnerving silence, or execute a noiseless descent to the floor below. This effortless and fluid motion often creates the distinct impression that these creatures are somehow defying the fundamental laws of both gravity and acoustics. However, once again, we must emphasize that there is no element of the supernatural or mystical involved in this phenomenon. Rather, it is the direct and calculated outcome of evolutionary adaptation and the exquisite perfection of their biomechanical design. We are, in essence, meticulously dissecting and analyzing the intricate workings of their anatomical black box. The primary and most crucial mechanism contributing to this pervasive conspiracy of silence is undoubtedly the unique structure and function of their paws. In stark contrast to the paw of a canine, whose perambulations are often announced by the characteristic and audible click of its unsheathed claws against various surfaces, the feline species possesses the remarkable ability to conceal its primary weaponry. Their claws are ingeniously retracted within specialized dermal sheaths, and are only extended at the precise moment of an attack or when the necessity arises for enhanced traction and grip upon a particular surface. However, the most pivotal piece of evidence, the linchpin of this silent operation, resides within the composition of their paw pads. These pads are characterized by their exceptional softness and remarkable resilience, functioning as highly sophisticated shock-absorbing mechanisms. They are expertly designed to effectively absorb both sound and the impact of physical force upon contact with any given surface, thereby facilitating their extraordinarily quiet and stealthy movements. The second, and indeed even more astonishing marvel of feline engineering is the skeletal structure. In human anatomy, the collarbones are firmly affixed to the shoulder joint, thereby establishing a robust and unyielding frame. Contrastingly, within the anatomy of a cat, the collarbone is a minuscule, independent ossicle, entirely detached from the remainder of the skeletal system. This ingenious engineering feat bestows upon its shoulders an extraordinary degree of unimpeded mobility, empowering it to contract its ribcage and consequently to insinuate itself through any aperture that its head can comfortably negotiate. It is hardly surprising, therefore, that its whiskers, scientifically known as vibrissae, function as an integrated range-finding apparatus, unfailingly ascertaining the critical question, can I fit through or not? This is not a matter of mere intuition. Rather, it represents the precise computation of a biological automaton that appears to have artfully circumvented the fundamental laws of physics with a singular objective: to achieve an estado of utter invisibility. We now find ourselves on the precipice of encountering the most enigmatically perplexing of all phenomena, the act of purring. For any devoted human companion, this sonorous emanation serves as the ultimate, unambiguous signal, signifying that the feline is content, secure, and that all is well within its world. This resonant, vibrating sound has become inextricably intertwined with the very essence of contentment. However, as is often the case in any compelling inquiry, the accounts provided by witnesses are not entirely uniform, and the accumulated factual evidence compels us to scrutinize this ostensibly straightforward interpretation. Veterinarians across the globe can readily attest to a peculiar observation. Cats do not exclusively purr when they are experiencing happiness. They also engage in this vocalization when they are enduring significant physical discomfort, when they are gripped by fear, and indeed, even during the final, fleeting moments of their existence. This particular observation fundamentally dismantles the prevailing happiness hypothesis and compels us to embark upon a quest for an alternative, more profound underlying reason. This compelling observation has consequently prompted us to formulate and rigorously test a rather startling hypothesis. Might it not be the case that purring is not so much a mere outward expression of emotional state as it is a sophisticated biological instrument? Physicists and bioacoustics experts provide us with an invaluable key to unlock this enigma. The prevailing frequency of a domestic cat's purr typically oscillates within the range of 25 to 150 Hz. Furthermore, extensive biomedical research unequivocally demonstrates that it is precisely these low frequencies that possess a demonstrably therapeutic effect. They actively promote the regeneration of tissues, effectively mitigate pain and reduce localized swelling, and even serve to stimulate an enhancement in bone density. It is entirely plausible that this remarkable regenerative capacity might be the very origin of the enduring legend of a cat possessing 9 lives. Therefore, it becomes evident that purring transcends its perceived status as a mere auditory emission. Instead, it constitutes a remarkably efficacious and remarkably low-cost mechanism for self-healing. It functions as an integrated, on-board physiotherapy device that the feline activates with deliberate intent to expedite its recovery from injury or to alleviate the effects of stress. What we, in our limited understanding, readily interpret as a melodious song of pure pleasure may, in reality, represent a complex and intricate internal repair program. Our comprehensive investigation has now reached its logical conclusion. We commenced this endeavor with a simple, nascent doubt concerning the conventionally perceived image of our beloved household pets. Now, having meticulously examined all the available evidence, we are thoroughly prepared to deliver our considered verdict. We have definitively established that the ubiquitous meow is not so much a form of linguistic communication as it is a finely honed instrument for the manipulation of human beings, skillfully exploiting our most deeply ingrained instincts. We have conclusively demonstrated that the cat's characteristic silence is not a consequence of happenstance, but rather the direct result of intricate biomechanical adaptations that have effectively transformed it into the quintessential invisible observer. Finally, we have presented irrefutable evidence that purring is not merely a delightful serenade of pleasure, but rather an intrinsic built-in self-healing mechanism, operating at frequencies that contemporary medical science is only just beginning to comprehend and explore. Every singular fact that we have painstakingly uncovered points unequivocally towards a singular, overarching conclusion. The creature peacefully slumbering upon our laps is immeasurably more complex and profoundly sophisticated than our accustomed perceptions would readily allow. It is not simply a pet in the conventional sense. It is, in fact, a highly efficient biological organism endowed with an extraordinary repertoire of superpowers, possessing a clandestine code of communication, and harboring a hidden inner life about which we possess a vanishingly small degree of understanding. The definitive verdict of this comprehensive investigation is as follows. The case pertaining to the cat's discernible dual existence is now formally closed. The subject under scrutiny has been unequivocally declared a virtuoso of disguise. We coexist alongside a creature that has masterfully orchestrated our perception of ourselves as its undisputed masters, but can we, in all honesty, truly assert that this is indeed the reality of the situation? After thoroughly assimilating all that we have learned, there exists substantial and compelling reason to harbor profound doubt. And perhaps, it is precisely this lingering uncertainty that they have orchestrated all along.